Home, the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's kicking. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Wu for the win. Team Canada. Garrett Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Yo, Canada and the rest of the world. You're listening to the Huckin podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo Wan, living in Kingston, Ontario.
And I'm Danny Proby from Vancouver, BC, and we are your coast-to-coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. Speaking of Canadian Ultimate, Theo, it's been a while, buddy. What you been up to?
Yeah, it was not we didn't have a show last week, folks, I know. We're already back, but I missed the week prior, so it's just been a busy time with the work schedule over here, so just planning a lot. We had our big hockey game against Queens, which we lost, unfortunately, in overtime, and we had our senior day celebrations this past weekend, so it's been a lot of work. If you watch the Super Bowl halftime show, it's a lot of work, you know, so I did get to spend the Super Bowl with some Frisbee people. Didn't play Frisbee, but there were Frisbee people at this event. So I was able to talk some Frisbee, got a chance to reminisce about 2014 gold medal game. A player from your neck of the woods in Victoria who now lives in Kingston. Got a chance to reminisce with him about, actually, can you guess who that is?
Trevor?
Yeah, Trevor. So Trevor and I chatted a little bit about that game-winning throw and just Frisbee in general. So that was a good time, just going to the memory bank there. I don't know if you've been playing, but you've been doing some clipboard, some clipboard stuff, right?
Yeah, some coaching. We had our training camp in Orlando. So the mixed team and the women's team went to Orlando, and the open team went to Vegas. So it was very fun. It was like 26 to 30 degrees every day. It was extremely windy, which was very valuable for us because we got to work through some zones and stuff. And there's just not much wind in Vancouver. So selfishly, I liked that all the UBC players were like out there getting some wind reps. But yeah, super fun. We stayed at this resort place. So us and the women's team both had a house in this resort area. So every day we got to go to the pool, lazy river, water slides, beach volleyball. It was awesome. Minus the fact that for anyone from Vancouver or Winnipeg, it is like the worst place to travel to in terms of flights. Flights got canceled on the way there. Flight got canceled, postponed on the way back. It's just super long. Don't sleep for 48 hours. So shout out to Justin Podner for coming back from his training camp in Vegas, getting a minivan, driving down to Seattle to pick us up at 1 a.m.
Wow. Well, Justin, I think you're a loyal fan of the show, first of all, so appreciate that. Second of all, thank you for doing that because I don't know many people that would do that. I don't know how far Vancouver is to Seattle, but
3 hours.
Either way, it doesn't matter. That's 6 hours total.
Yeah.
It's 1 a.m. It's a long time. So thank you for doing that. You definitely helped some people out, it sounds like. So.
By the time we got home, it was 5 a.m.
Do you have school the next day and just go to class?
And
might as well
practice
just
the next day.
Oh gosh, no excuse from the coaches, eh? Not going to excuse them from practice there.
Absolutely not. But yeah, it was a good time. You might be able to hear my voice a little bit from all the shouting and yelling and hollering that I was doing, that I'm a little bit fried vocally. So apologies. I mean, I'm always got a little bit of a vocal fry, but a little bit more now than normal. So yeah, apologize for that. But we're making it work here on the podcast.
We're now... I think we've caught up. I know some people there's some loyal fans that like the catch up, but we're going to jump in to the news because there's a roster that I want to talk about. There's other things that we got to talk about. So we're going to hit the news and then main event. We're talking, it's a little Ontario centric here. We're going to talk about the university tournament that happened. A team that keeps on winning is all I'm going to say. A team that keeps on winning. And then there's a big fours tournament that's happening and we're going to talk about it all. But first we're going to head to the news.
We now have breaking news.
So if you didn't know, there was a big roster drop, early roster. Teams, if you drop the roster early, more likely more eyeballs are going to see it and mouths are going to talk about it. So If you didn't know, I believe it was last week at some point. I got DM'd about it from a couple different people. And the General Strike roster dropped. It was hot. Came out from the time of this recording 6 days ago, so about a week ago. And there's some interesting names on the list there, Danny. So I will let you kind of share your first initial thoughts on this roster. There's definitely some names you're probably familiar with. And a legend has made his return, is all I'm saying. So for those watching, you can go to General, or listening, you can go to General Strike's Instagram and take a look at the full roster. There's some big names out there.
Yeah, so very obviously like news and noteworthy having Malik on this team. I know that he was kind of shopping around to see where he would land this season. So interesting that he landed on Strike, I'm sure, just to play with the buddies. I think it's there's quite a few U24 players, like Duquette is on there as well. And I think it's going to be spicy. I wonder how they kind of convince these people to play for them. And also Mark Lloyd, welcome back. The game has missed you.
That's the one I'm excited for. But also Cam Burton too has been a big legend in the Winnipeg scene coming back. I also recognize Jared Lahatsky. Hope I said that right. Also as someone who's played for General Strike before. I'll do a quick side shout out to Stephen Crew for being a captain here for General Strike. I know he's been a follower since day one, so appreciate that. And there's definitely that mofo University of Manitoba, like the pipeline, and then it goes into this team. So a lot of those out there. I don't know how it's going to work with some of the Montreal connections there, right? With Duquette and Malik, are they going to be practicing every week? Are they just going to the tournaments? Like, what's that going to look like? But then you also get back Quinn Snyder. So maybe that's where the connection was made, because Quinn having played with Mephisto at Worlds. So perhaps there's some swaying of that. So some names returning. And I'm going to say this. If this roster goes to North Central Regionals with the teams there not doing so hot, I don't even know if Sub-Zero exists anymore, but Mad Men made it this year. I've watched Mad Men film. If this roster goes, they could. I'm not going to predict it outright, but I'm going to say they have a good chance if this full roster goes to the States.
Do you have any intel whether they're just planning fall series or anything, or not fall series rather?
The intel I've received is they're going to go. I'm not sure if it's going to be, I don't think it'll be the full roster, is from what I've heard. I could be corrected on that, but they are planning to go. And they've never really sent, like, remember last year we talked about it, they didn't really send like a full team. We looked at the roster and they kind of sent like half a team and some other players, but they've never sent like a full squad. So I think if you put your full squad out there, North Central is on the downswing right now. So there's your chance. Even if they have one bid, you have a chance to upset a team like Mad Men or somebody else there and try to get there.
Well, would love to see more Canadian teams at USA Nationals. So good luck to General Strike. I know it was very buzzworthy when that roster was dropped. Everyone was kind of talking about it. So super exciting. We love these kinds of things in Ultimate. So speaking of big buzzworthy news, we have, so Fable and Mola Mola used to be independent teams and then joined together a few years ago to become like their own club. So it's cohesive. They do their trials together, etc. And then TT and Red Flag were just kind of teams isolated on their own. The announcement is that TT is now joining forces with Fable and Mola Mola. So there's like a 3-team feeder system. And judging from what I can see from their social media posts, it looks like it's going to be TT as the top team, then Fable, then Mola Mola. And I know that each team has its own distinct culture and coaching style and everything like that, but super exciting to see these 3 teams work together, doing their tryouts together. I think it's good for Ultimate in general to have a little bit more clarity as these young players graduate high school and finish their junior clubs. It's nice to kind of see like a graphic. If you're looking for this is what you do. This is the tryout for all of these teams. It just makes it a lot simpler than having to choose which team you want to try out for and maybe getting cut and then you haven't tried out for the other teams. It's just awkward. So this is just a nicer, more streamlined system, and it shows nice collaboration and teamwork between the clubs. Red Flag's still doing their own thing as per usual.
I was going to ask about that as a resident BC person, the BC specialist over there. I wanted to ask about that. So 4 mixed teams from the Vancouver area. That's pretty cool. Any intel if Victoria is like going to put out a mixed team here for, because it's national in BC. So are they like, I know Sky Sharks a long time ago, like it'd probably be a different name, but would Victoria put out a team? You got any intel on that?
I think that they have their women's and men's teams split that they played in the USA series. So I think that they would kind of continue on that vein, but I don't have a conclusive answer for you. No, there was Happy Campers, but that was mostly focused in Masters and Grandmasters. So there might be enough interest to throw in a mixed team as well now that Nationals is going to be in BC. So potentially, I think mixed always seems to explode when it's being held here in BC. All of a sudden, there's like Richie and Friends and Beer Kitty and all of these random mixed teams come out of nowhere. So I also heard there's a Richmond, which is like another like a city adjacent to Vancouver, a Richmond mixed team potentially being formed too. So it's popping off here in Vancouver. That's all I gotta say.
So are you going to throw an early prediction here and say all 4 semifinalists going to be from the city of Vancouver or what?
No, I will not say that.
Yeah, I'm going to predict at least 2. I'm going to predict 2 out of 4. How's that?
Sure, I could get on board with 2 out of 4.
2 out of 4. Early prediction, 2 out of 4. We talked about this already, but want to get a little bit more information about, as you mentioned, Dane, the training camps there. Maybe I'll just ask you a few questions here. Were you playing teams or was it more like system building at this training camp?
Yeah, so for my mixed team specifically, we have 2 other training camps that are tournaments. And so this training camp was created just in order to get the athletes to meet earlier so that they don't just like make the team in December or whatever it was and then meet in May and then Worlds is like a month and a half later. Like that felt too long to wait. And so the intention was to have them meet earlier, run through some basics, and for us coaches to kind of have a bearing of like what we're working with. So it's really good kind of information finding for us. We did a lot of different systems with them. We tried a lot of different things out on them, and we could kind of explore and experiment to see who might fit where, what kind of systems we think this team could handle, could run. And I believe that was pretty similar for the open team, and for the women's team, it was definitely looked like a lot of bonding, a lot of fun happening when I was looking over on their field, but also their women just fly. It's so cool seeing so many people just like bidding, and this turf was unforgiving. Oh, another side note. We just started this cheer for mixed, like bleed red kind of thing. And then we did this drill that I've done with UBC before called Touch 10. It's a volleyball drill. And so you have to dive and like touch, you get thrown 10 discs kind of one after another, and you have to dive.
That's a little barrel drill right there.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, exactly. And so we did that. And I think like pretty much everybody on the mixed team was bleeding at some point over the weekend, and some were bleeding a lot. And we just kind of like leaned into it. So our training camp was about bonding and bleeding together.
I mean, that sounds like a good training camp to me. I did wonder that. I'm sure other people were wondering as well. Because there usually is like a tournament in Vegas and things like that. Like in general, like I know there's a big Trouble in Vegas tournament. I don't think necessarily teams are going to play that, but going to Vegas, going to hot destinations is a good choice. So definitely jealous of that. I think the cold spell, at least in my neck of the woods, has passed for now. So, we're not going to talk about every team that has tryouts, because I think that's something that I'm noticing is teams are really, they're tagging us, they're popping off with the tryouts. So things are starting to happen, and warm weather's coming. So get excited. Season's coming around.
Season's coming around. Speaking of a season coming around, we got Sixers coaches. They're running it back. They're coming back again, hired, rehired, ready to go. Jordan Marin and Carla DeFilippo. So the dynamic duo bringing lots of success to the squad. It is no surprise that they're back at the helm of this squad again. So very exciting. I think the continuity is very important for developing and maintaining a successful squad.
They were mere points away from finals. If my memory serves me correctly. So they're close.
Why fix what ain't broke? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're knocking at the door. it stands to see where these top teams, what these top teams do for CUC. Are they going to, because we know the new rules now where a certain amount of the roster, if they want to, like if you want to play, you got to, have to play the CUC the year prior. So will they go full squad? Will they go mix? More to be determined over here. We're going to jet over semi-pro side. Haven't talked a lot about it. I know Montreal Royale had kind of a rookie camp, which is interesting because I went on Facebook to kind of see who was out there. A lot of ex-Outlaws players making the jump. A couple of U24 players I saw in there as well, trying out. So Montreal going to be definitely, I think, better. And it's just interesting. I've never thought about that, but just having all the people who haven't played on the team before trying out, like that was it. There was no returners. None of the big names that you know of were there. So it's kind of interesting for those trying out because you see how you are against these pool of rookies, but then you don't actually know how you're going to be against the actual team. So that's one thing. But the Rush announced their coaching staff. So Adrian Yearwood is back, Michael Kukushka, and new addition Rob Jankowski, who just recently coached for Boat to a 5th place finish at CUC, is joining the helm. And someone from your neck of the woods there in BC joining the Rush, Ty Barbieri. I think it was like one of the worst kept secrets, but he's now in Toronto and he'll be playing for the Rush with his good friend Mike McKenzie. So those two joining forces already with the talented Lewis brothers. Oscar Stonehouse, another U24 guy. We got to reference those. So the Rush looking pretty good. Montreal going to be good too. So maybe one Canadian team will make the playoffs. We're going to see.
Maybe. That's it for the news. So we're going to head to a quick break because we have to do lots of recapping, lots of previewing. We got lots of indoor series coming your way after this break.
Hey, this is Leanne Campbell from the McGill Ultimate Team, your 2022 Huckin A Div 1 College Women's Player of the Year. And you're listening to the Huckin A Podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.
We got to talk indoor tournament that happened recently in Brampton, Ontario. It was results that continue to push the narrative that one program continues to run the college scene. Come on. So we're going to start off in the women's division. We're not going to recap every game, of course, but there were 10 teams going. Okay. And what you need to know is in the semifinals, it was Guelph A versus Waterloo A, Guelph winning. And then on the other side, the two McMaster split squads, they end up facing each other because one of them actually dropped a game in pool play to Guelph. So they ended up having to play each other. McMaster Y wins, and then they win the whole thing, defeating Guelph. So, Danny, what else can we say about this Hamilton group? Because they did well in the previous indoor tournament as well, and they're just killing it. So they must have used that footage that we had or that was put out about with our voices and just continue to motivate them,
What impresses me about this team is that not only do they do well in the outdoor series, the fact that they're even competing at this level also in the indoor series is just so impressive because it's two completely different styles of ultimate. One's like huck and pin, zone, muddy, just a slog fest versus indoor, like no wind, no rain. So the fact that they're beating a team 20-3 in pool play.
Well, that's tough. That's tough if you're on the 3 side.
That's tough.
But, you contrast the scores here. I'm looking at a game from Saturday that was 7-2. So some games you got the high scoring, some games you got the low scoring. And we've talked about this before, but fours is... Have you played fours before, Danny? I know that might be like a silly question, but...
No, we play 5-on-5 as our league here.
Oh, so like fours is like Quebec rules where... So for those that play fours, they know this as old hat, but Danny doesn't know. But when you score, you put the disc down, everybody like changes subs, right? So like it's not speed point. Everyone changes subs. Offense waits for the defense to set, and then you tap it in, and then you go obviously the other direction. But it's a different style. It's not speed point, whereas 5 is probably speed point.
Yeah, sub on the fly.
Yeah, 4's sub on the fly would be very chaotic, and I don't think it would make for good frisbee. So 4 is definitely a completely different game. If you're shorter like me, you kind of like it. You don't have to go run down deep cuts and stuff like that. So we're going to talk open division. Waterloo was the number 1 seed, but they actually drop a pool play game here to London, aka they can't say Western, so we'll just say the school over there in London, going 4-0. And then Guelph X takes the pool, defeating McMaster A to go 4-0. Your semifinals, McMaster A in London, and then Guelph X and Waterloo. Little close matches, 12-10 and 10-7 respectively. And then McMaster A, I know the McMaster women's team was streaming this a little bit. I caught a little bit of the live stream on their Instagram. Not sure if this was a universe, because sometimes there's just the hard cap situation, especially in 4s. But McMaster A, it's the McMaster sweep out here. 8-7, they take it. I'm going to be honest, I didn't see this coming. But hey, they're proving us wrong once again, this time on the open side.
I mean, McMaster domination. I mean, should they use this as a soundbite for their next video? It's the McMaster domination here in Ultimate Canada. There you go. There's your next sound clip that you can use for your highlight video. You can have the one where we throw shade to your program, and then you can use the hype audio for present, because you're here, you've arrived. I mean, I guess you've been here for a while. That's the whole point, that we were doubting you, and now we're not allowed to anymore. So congrats to McMaster.
And we'll defend ourselves though, because Danny, you said this before. The audio that was used was from a year prior, so just remember that. The audio that was used was from the year prior when Danny and I did not know anything at all about the squad. About
any team at all, because it was COVID.
So caveat there for the people keeping track at home. But speaking of keeping track, if you're keeping track, there's teams advancing to the finals that's happening in March. So there's only going to be 8 teams going per division. So it's kind of elite. You got to qualify. You got to have done well. Since they are canceled a tournament, I believe another one was set in Kingston where we still don't have that dome. Now teams can apply. I was talking to a resident fact checker about this. Teams can apply, and the competition committee will review and bring 2 teams up. So currently the teams that have qualified are McMaster A, Ottawa X, Waterloo A, Guelph X, London, and Carleton A in the open division. I know the Ottawa teams, Carleton and Ottawa, both have done well previously in the 4v4 circuit. So interested to see how they do there. I know Ottawa did not send a team in this past tournament, so that can affect things. And Carleton A didn't either. So they get points from their previous events. And then on the women's side, we have the 2 McMaster teams sending 2 groups over there. And I think they named it Y and X on purpose, because it's probably just their A squad split up into 2 evenly skilled teams. And then Guelph A, Waterloo A, London, and Ottawa declined their bid. Looks like on the document Waterloo B has accepted, but we'll let that play itself out there. But Ottawa, you got a bid, but you're declining. So another squad gets to go in your place.
Yeah, do you know why they declined? Is it like I have no idea.
No clue. Maybe they'll tell us, but Ottawa has decided not to attend this tournament. So, it happens. But that's your 4v4 recap on the university side. What's pretty cool is that not only is there going to be a C4UC, which is like the adult club version of this, but there's also going to be a juniors one. So getting more students playing. I know they have the high school championships, and then also getting juniors to be playing 4s. Just going to help increase the talent here in Canada and playing opportunities. And you know what else would increase it is under 17. I'm going to keep pumping that up on the podcast. Danny's favorite topic. So that's for another show there. But O4UC is happening this weekend. Originally, I was going to have a team there playing, but I got to work. I'm going to St. Catharines this weekend for the OUA fencing championship, so I will not be there.
Sorry, the what?
The OUA fencing championship. I'm gonna be all up in the fencing. So I don't know if there are any fencing fans out there in the audience, but it's interesting sport. It's kind of similar to Ultimate in which it's tournament style. So it's not the most spectator friendly, because you got to figure out like where your person is fencing, and you got to like find it, and there's just matches happening all over the gym. So it can kind of be like a Frisbee tournament where you're trying to find your way around, especially when a team is like on a ball diamond or somewhere not close to where the other fields are. So one disappointing thing to note is that a bunch of teams had to drop out. I believe it started at 20. I remember when I was signing up, and we're all the way down to 14. So Some teams had to drop out. There were some roster rules where they were allowing teams to have more than the limit because some teams just couldn't field a squad for both days otherwise. So there was things there. But your number one seed, I believe the schedule's public by the time this comes out, should be. Yum is the top team there out of the Durham region. They got some big name players. Britta Santos, anyone, is out there. And also Luke Comire, Ryan Polaz. There's some names out there, Cindy Trong. So this team is the number one seed, and they're going to be followed by a team that has a sick name, Wax On, Wax Goff, and they have look at that, Danny, as we look at the roster, they got a World Games player, but from the U.S., so that's kind of cool. I'm scared for everyone else because they might be starstruck by playing this person,
That roster is insane.
Look at this roster. It's like there's just like studs everywhere on this roster. Both gender matches there, and so I don't know. We're not going to predict this tournament, but all I'm going to say is this team, if they're full strength, like who's going to stop this team? Like look at the names there, Danny.
I know. It's not even fair.
It's like a bunch of Sixers. Yeah, it's a good team. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
So that's their second seed there, and then they're just like, because it's fours and there's like smaller rosters, they're just talent on so many other teams. So we're looking at the other team here, All Canadian Rejects. They got some players too. So it's like and more Sixers on that side, as you can see. So it's actually all Sixers on the female matching side. Lauren Kamira being one of them, Molly Lewis too. So there's some good competition. I don't know who's going to come out first. We're not going to name every seed here. There is a team called Melt out of Hamilton, so they've qualified for C4UC before. They take the McMaster model. They're all about the chemistry and less about the big names. So you might recognize some of their names. A lot of them play for Crux, but they're going to be out here. We'll give a little shout out to the Kingston's own team here, Speedy Boys. The best players in Kingston putting together a team, and they're going to try to make some noise out there. A lot of Queens players or ex-Queens. Someone that you might know is on this team, Mr. Galbraith. So he's going to try to qualify for C4UC with this team.
Yeah, shout out, PeteYouTheBomb.com.
And he was there at training camp. And there are some other teams out from different parts of Ontario. So nice to see a team from Guelph, Grand River Book Club, K Watra out of Waterloo, and Sharkbait out of London. So there's a lot of Toronto teams. And then there's going to be some other representation there in Ontario. So it's 2 days of play, and you got to finish. I guess everyone makes the bracket here, it looks like, or for the most part. And it's a very convoluted. We're not going to explain the whole bracket because, when I see some of our resident fact checker schedule making, it sometimes makes my head hurt,
Yeah, I know. It's like a beautiful mind.
All you need to know is you want to come at least first and second in your pool. Actually, no, it looks like you want to come in first. You have to come in first in your pool to actually have a chance to get first overall. So that's what it looks like to me. I could be wrong, but it looks like you have to actually come in first in your pool to get there. You'd be WC on the schedule. It sounds like from my discussions with said person that the top 4 teams probably would get bids, but you never know. So if you're a team going, don't bank on coming top 4. I mean, if you come top 2 and you lose in the final, you're probably going to make it, but don't bank on it, like I said. So 14 teams, always hard tournament to schedule with that because pools are going to be uneven. So it kind of sucks for the one pool where you only have 2 games. So pools A and B, you only get 2 games. So, I mean, it's pretty expensive playing 4, so you want to get as many games as possible. But when teams drop out, there's nothing you can do. So that's our little we're not going to call it a mega preview here, Danny. That was just a mini preview of that tournament. That was O4UC. We also recapped indoor series. And this episode a little shorter, but we wanted to get you caught up, folks, on the news and things happening out here in this great country. Like I said before, lots of tryouts happening, or not happening, but being announced. So if you're in a city, you got to look up the local teams to find out if they're running tryouts here. Traffic announced anything yet or what?
No, but Trevor's running some junior clinics. Like, we're starting to be
I did see that.
engaged. So
Yeah.
things are being talked about. I believe there's like an interest form and information about potential schedule for the year, just to kind of see what the vets' availability is. So there's murmurings. All the teams are kind of putting out their feelers right now.
The question is, are you considered a vet now?
Yes. I mean, I'm not a rookie anymore.
Oh, so vets, like anyone who's played at least 1 year, is that what you're saying? Oh, because
Yeah.
usually when I think vets, it's like 6 years on the team, blood, sweat, and tears for like that long, and just like, but I hear what you're saying. It's someone that's not a rookie. Once again, if you're a college team and you are going to a tournament, then you need to tell us, because there are smaller tournaments happening. I know UBC, you're going to Northwest Challenge is a tournament you're going to, but are you going to any others?
Other than Stanford?
Oh, Stanford invite. Let's go.
Both the women's and men's teams are going. So
nice. We do like that. So East Coast teams or Eastern Ontario, Quebec teams, please let us know if you're going to a tournament. I keep pushing for it. I've heard one college team in particular is going to be really souped up for next year. I'm not going to say who yet, because the roster hasn't dropped. It's like a year away. But I told them that they need to go to the U.S. series. So please do so. Go to the U.S. series. We're going to keep beating this drum until it dies away. So please go to that. That wraps it up. Like I said, it's going to be a shorter episode today. We thank you for joining us. Next week, we'll obviously talk about who qualified. And maybe there's some spicy things that happen. You never know. And we still have to have our big Q&A with our favorite fact checkers. So you got to stay tuned for stuff coming on the pipe here. If you're a subscriber, you can tune in and listen to me talk about innovations of streaming, in Ultimate specifically, this topic coming up, because if you watch any of the college tournaments happening, there are multiple streams at once. So Queen City Tune-Up happened recently this past weekend. Both finals happening at the same time. There was some rain going on there, but 2 streams at once for a tournament kind of in the early season. You got to love it. So big kudos to all the streaming team, the video team that's doing that. So you can stay tuned for the subscriber only. Danny, any final thoughts before we sign off this shorter episode here?
No, but I mean, on the note about the ultimate streaming, I streamed the UNC Vermont final while I was on the plane coming back from Orlando. So I've been really enjoying how much footage I've been able to kind of look at already, and it's still only February, the middle of February. So it's amazing having so much access to footage so I can see all of these teams before we play them.
Well, you weren't there for the last UNC battle, so now you get to see UNC in action. And we don't want to expose your scouting secrets and like say what you noticed, but that team is pretty loaded with big names, but UBC is as well. So I'm hoping that they can clash. These two teams can clash at some point. I'm not sure if UNC. Do you know if UNC is going to Northwest Challenge, because they went before, I believe.
No, yeah, it's not listed yet.
But it would be nice to see if you could get a battle with them earlier rather than, potentially in the bracket, right? Or would you rather just see them once in the bracket instead of in the early season?
I have no preference. I think there's benefit and merit to both, but I think at a certain point there's going to be so much footage of each team that even if you don't play them, they're going to have the opportunity to know about your team, what you run, and those kinds of things. So I don't think it matters either way. We do want to get good competition early. So Stanford actually comes first. So hoping to play teams like UNC and Vermont and stuff like that earlier, like at Stanford, and then also again at Northwest Challenge. We need to get a lot of really good games, because our first little baby tournament in Bellingham was not the highest quality reps. And so we're hungry to kind of fight for some wins. You know what I'm saying?
You want to bleed the blue.
Bleed blue. Yeah.
Bleed blue. So I don't know if you're going to bring that over to the UBC side, but the bleed whatever color, like that is a good rallying cry is all I'm saying. So I think people do like that and they'll buy into it. So maybe like your team will start getting matching tattoos. I know there's a lot of college like players that have like I know people in Pittsburgh, they get like the matching tattoos, so it is a thing. So I don't know if anyone on UBC is going to get a Thunderbird tattooed there on their wrist, but
Maybe if we win.
wait, so you're just calling that right now?
Yeah, if we win, I will get a Thunderbird tattooed somewhere on me. Easy, no worries.
Wait. So Huckin audience, you heard it here first. Danny Proby says if UBC women's team wins the college championships in 2023,
Yeah.
she will get it tattooed somewhere on her body. Obviously not your face or your neck.
Probably
but
my
somewhere.
butt, to be honest. Somewhere hidden.
There you go. But Thunderbird tattoos coming. We heard about it a long time ago when we used to do the Beaver Tail. Someone talked about a Team Canada pact as well with the tattoos. So it sounds like Danny's starting that up again for UBC. So that's the hope, that you would win and then you get the tattoo. It's kind of double. Hit us on the socials. I know we've been a little bit more dormant in terms of posting, but keep following us. We're going to throw some clips once we get some highlights out there. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Subscribers, you can join the subscriber only. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Stanford's when?
It's like the beginning of March.
Okay, so we still got a few weeks to preview that, but that's gonna be a big tournament. I'm hopeful and pretty certain that at least one UBC team will be on the stream. So subscribe so you can see them in action live. So anyways, Danny, you'll get the last word here.
Okay, everybody, now that it's just us here on the pod, what I want you to tell us is what you want us to cover moving forward. So now we're kind of in season, so we're just kind of talking about the things that are happening as they're happening. But we want to listen to you a little bit more. So if you ever have an inkling for us to kind of do a deep dive into a particular subject area, we want to hear it. So slide into our DMs, let us know what you want us to cover, because we're a pod for the people. So we're here for you.
The People's Pod.
The People's Pod.
The People's Pod. We're just going to all these good hashtags for you folks. So
Yeah.
With that, we're going to sign off. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.